the Dark Angels.
Valhallan commander Jan Sudvokar and his elite unit surveyed the battlefield from atop a hastily erected ferrocrete barrier. This formidable wall spanned the entirety of the Cyclophae Pass, connecting two rugged mountain faces. Along its defenses, and within impromptu shelters carved from the blend of rock and snow, Sudvokar's assembled warriors stood ready, comprising the valiant 118th Valhallan Infantry, the fierce 442 Krovian Scourges, and beleaguered local militia. These forces, remnants from the retreat at Iasmola, had been unified under Sudvokar's command into a singular, formidable force. At this elevation, the cold was merciless, necessitating the use of rebreathers for all, as the logistics allowed. The threats of hypoxia and frostbite had already taken their toll on Sudvokar's troops in the preceding days. Yet, those concerns paled in comparison to the imminent danger that now drew his undivided attention down the mountain pass, an advancing army of heretics. As the enemy neared, a mix of dread and loathing stirred within Sudvokar. The contrast between the pristine snow and the clear skies above only highlighted the desecration brought by the encroaching traitors. "Mags," he commanded tersely, extending a gloved hand towards his aide, Lethe. With the handed-over magnoculars, he scrutinized the enemy's vanguard more closely. "Traitorous scum," muttered Tyreen, the Vox officer, under his breath. Sudvokar's response was cut short as his gaze landed on the towering figures at the forefront of the assault. "Throne of the Emperor," he whispered, recognizing the heretic Astartes and their leader, the hooded king, amongst their ranks. His team muttered curses under their breath as Sudvokar stared down the menacing figure clad in black power armor, his identity unmistakable by the sinister blade and the distinctive spines adorning his armor. This was the fiend responsible for dragging countless into a brutal civil conflict and unleashing chaos upon those who stood against him. The impulse to flee nearly overwhelmed Sudvokar. "Tyrem, alert the artillery. The enemy is nearly upon us," he ordered, his voice steady despite the fear. "Make it known. We hold our ground here. They shall not break us." As orders were relayed, Sudvokar braced himself for what seemed an insurmountable onslaught. Despite the grim odds, he vowed to inflict severe losses on the traitors in honor of the God Emperor. The artillery roared to life, heralding the onset of battle. Within half an hour, however, Sudvokar acknowledged the grim certainty of defeat. Despite their valiant efforts, which saw the enemy dead stacking up like a morbid bulwark, their defenses were compromised. The supernatural fires burning through their barricades and the silence of their guns, countered effectively by enemy armor, painted a dire picture. With half his force fallen and the enemy's numbers seemingly undiminished, the sight of the hooded king advancing with his elite was nearly too much to bear. "Sir, listen to this." Tyrem's urgent voice broke through, offering him a Vox headset. The message it carried was a beacon of hope. Reinforcements were imminent. "The Emperor protects." The battlefield's dynamics shifted dramatically with the arrival of Space Marines on combat bikes, cutting through the heretics with precision and fury. Sudvokar's despair turned to awe as these angels of the Emperor entered the fray, their presence alone turning the tide. The hooded king's retreat, faced with this new threat, was a sight that rekindled hope amongst the Imperial forces. The battle's momentum continued to shift with each passing moment as more Imperial forces joined the conflict. The arrival of Astra Militarum reinforcements, the strategic deployment of teleporting Space Marines, and the relentless assault on the heretics ensured a devastating blow to the enemy. Sudvokar, inspired by the sudden turn of events, led his troops with renewed vigor, their combined efforts supporting the Space Marines' valiant charge. As the battle raged, the might of the Imperium was on full display, a testament to their unwavering resolve and the divine protection of the Emperor. In the chaos of war, Sudvokar and his forces witnessed the true power of unity and the indomitable spirit of those who fight in the Emperor's name. Together, they stood against the darkness, a beacon of hope and defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. Valhallan leader Jan Sudvokar was transfixed as the battlefield transformed before his eyes, with Space Marines in their imposing black and bone-white armor decimating the heretic ranks. Their coordinated assault left the enemy's tanks in ruins and their soldiers in disarray, their bodies strewn across the snowy landscape. Amidst this whirlwind of destruction, the heretic Astartes attempted a desperate counterattack. Though they inflicted damage upon the loyalist forces, their efforts were futile, and none survived to exploit their fleeting successes. Just as Sudvoker was processing the spectacle, a trio of imposing gunships sliced through the sky, their hulls painted in a deep shade of forest green, adorned with the emblem of winged blades. As they unleashed their firepower, the heretics were thrown into chaos. The gunships then descended with a ferocious intensity, their assault ramps deploying to unleash warriors clad in dark green armor into the fray. Amidst a maelstrom of bolt fire and the screech of chain blades, the battle reached a fever pitch before the loyalists swiftly retreated to their craft and vanished as quickly as they had appeared. In the aftermath, with the snow settling, Sudvoker realized the brief but brutal intervention had shifted the tide of battle in their favor. The Adeptus Astartes, though driven by their own objectives, had inadvertently paved the way for a decisive imperial victory. Grasping this unexpected advantage, Sudvoker rallied his forces. "All units, take up arms and ready to push forward," he bellowed, his voice a beacon of inspiration amidst the chaos. "Annihilate these traitors, chase them down like the vermin they are. We will not waste this chance bestowed upon us by the angels of death. Let us honor their intervention." Filled with a newfound determination and the blessing of strategic superiority, Sudvoker and his troops prepared to capitalize on the momentum. The opportunity to turn the tables on their foes was clear, and with the spirits of his soldiers lifted by the heroic deeds of the Space Marines, they were ready to press their advantage, determined to rout the enemy from their positions and secure a hard-fought victory.
The Unforgiven.
Lion L. Johnson, the Primarch of the Dark Angels, stands as one of humanity's most formidable warriors, a demigod and progenitor to the Unforgiven chapters. His presence is marked by a stern and reticent demeanor, his combat prowess rivaled only by his unwavering fidelity to the Emperor of Mankind and an unmatched dedication to his duty. It is from Lion L. Johnson that the Dark Angels inherit their grave and clandestine nature, which they have maintained for millennia. He instilled in them the adoption of monastic customs and ancient rituals. Despite the suspicion their secretive ways might arouse in some sectors of the Imperium, the Dark Angels remain a staunchly loyal and formidable force in the Emperor's service. They enter the fray under billowing standards, their gazes intense beneath the shadow of their hoods, their weapons keen. They wield rare and ancient arms, relics from the dawn of the Imperium, meticulously preserved. Leading their charge are specialist units and revered leaders, the Deathwing's bone-clad veterans, the swift Ravenwing hunters, relentless interrogator chaplains, and the insightful librarians capable of extracting secrets directly from the minds of their foes. Few adversaries can withstand their relentless assault, and none dare impede their veiled objectives. The origins of the Dark Angels are veiled in secrecy, with successive masters and veterans of the chapter deliberately obfuscating their true history. Encased in layers of metaphor and allegory within their chapter's mythology, or hidden away behind locked doors, the reality of their past continues to shape every Dark Angel and will likely influence their future for generations to come. Lion L. Johnson's tale begins on Caliban, where he was found as a wild child by a knight named Luther. Opting not to destroy the boy, Luther brought him into society. A profound bond formed between them as they hunted together from the dark fortresses of Caliban. When L. Johnson ascended to lead his legion across the stars, Luther was entrusted with Caliban's stewardship through the Great Crusade and into the Horus Heresy. However, Luther's heart grew embittered in L. Johnson's absence, culminating in a rebellion amongst the Dark Angels under his command. Upon L. Johnson's return to Caliban, Luther's forces attacked. The ensuing conflict deeply scarred the Legion. The planet itself was nearly destroyed by the fierce battle, exacerbated by the intense bombardment from orbit. The climax of this strife was a duel between L. Johnson and a chaos-empowered Luther, evenly matched despite the former's divine lineage. Although L. Johnson emerged victorious, his reluctance to kill Luther led to his own severe wounding. Luther's realization of his actions, amplified by his regret, resonated through the warp, causing disturbances felt galaxy-wide and resulting in a warp storm that obliterated much of Caliban and scattered the traitorous Dark Angels, now known as the Fallen, across time and space. In the aftermath, when the loyalist Dark Angels searched the ruins for their Primarch, they found only a deranged Luther who claimed that the Watchers in the Dark had spirited the Lion away, prophesying his eventual return and forgiveness. Luther was then taken prisoner, and despite exhaustive searches,
The aftermath.
in the wake of calamity, with only fragments of their homeworld remaining, countless brethren lost, and their Primarch vanished, the Dark Angels faced an era of profound uncertainty. The qualities of stoicism and autonomy instilled by the Lion, honed during their tenure as the First Legion, now became their beacon. The Imperium they once knew, prior to Horus' betrayal, had transformed into a realm rife with distrust and chaos. Following the Horus heresy, the Imperium was beleaguered by lawlessness and ignorance, with many sectors left ungoverned. Piracy flourished, and the structures attempting to uphold imperial order were overwhelmed by the sheer scale of treachery that permeated society, leading to relentless investigations and purges. Amidst this turmoil, the Dark Angels perceived themselves as profoundly complicit in the darkness that had befallen Caliban, believing that revelation of these events would mark them as traitors. Thus, the Legion further isolated itself, implementing measures to safeguard its survival and reaffirm its dedication to the Imperium's cause. This period marked a rebirth for the Dark Angels, underscored by a collective vow of silence regarding the tragedy of Caliban, ensuring no one outside the Legion would learn the truth. The Dark Angels also faced the dilemma of maintaining secrecy, given the multitude of non-combatant witnesses to the events on Caliban. The fate of these individuals is a mystery, lost even to the Dark Angels themselves. To fortify their secrecy, the Legion's elders formed the Inner Circle, a clandestine council committed to guarding their darkest secrets. Despite the scrutiny from Imperial authorities, the chaotic state of the Imperium provided a cover, allowing the Dark Angels to obscure the full extent of their losses and the circumstances surrounding Caliban and Lionel Johnson. Their withdrawn nature was attributed to their grievous losses, and they were left to continue their primary mission to combat the myriad threats facing humanity. In the aftermath, the Dark Angels sought new worlds for recruitment and prepared their fleets for forthcoming conflicts. They repurposed the remnants of Caliban, transforming their shattered fortress monastery and its underpinnings into a formidable mobile fortress known as the Rock. This bastion, equipped with formidable defenses and engines capable of both real space and warp travel, became a symbol of their resilience and a repository of ancient technologies and ominous secrets discovered in its depths. The revelation that many of the Fallen had survived and were scattered through time and space presented a new challenge and opportunity for the Dark Angels. The existence of the Fallen posed a threat of exposure, but also offered a path to redemption. The Dark Angels believed that by hunting and eliminating the Fallen, they could finally absolve themselves of their perceived guilt. Thus, the quest for redemption through the silent pursuit of the Fallen commenced, a quest that would define the Dark Angels for millennia to come.
The Inner Circle.
In the aftermath of Horus's failed insurrection, the Imperium found itself in a state of upheaval, striving to reassert order across its fractured domains. It was amidst this chaos that the Dark Angels established the Inner Circle, a clandestine assembly of the chapter's most esteemed veterans. This cadre emerged gradually, transitioning from an informal coalition to a structured council over the ensuing decades and centuries. The formation of the Inner Circle marked a pivotal shift in the Dark Angels' tradition, steering the chapter towards a more austere ceremonial path. They adopted a rigorous regimen of discipline and camaraderie, aligning with the practices of the second founding chapters by adhering to the Codex Astartes. This adoption served a dual purpose. It was both a genuine effort to conform to the new order of the Astartes and a strategic move to dispel any lingering doubts about their loyalty. As the years passed, those who had first-hand knowledge of Caliban's fall became exceedingly rare, their testimonies confined to the silent vigil of dreadnoughts. The weight of these ancient secrets thus passed to subsequent generations within the Unforgiven chapter's inner circles, safeguarded by a select few. The keepers of these clandestine tales include members of the Deathwing, select chapter masters, the enigmatic interrogator chaplains, and the librarians. Yet, even among these guardians, few grasp the entirety of the truths buried by the chapter. The inner circle transcends its role as a keeper of secrets, embodying the core of the Dark Angel's military and strategic leadership. It functions as both the elite First Company and the chapter command, comprising a host of formidable warriors. Among their number are figures of awe, and in certain tales, dread, whose deeds have woven the fabric of the chapter's storied legacy. This elite group not only preserves the history and doctrines of the Dark Angels, but also leads them in their endless war against the enemies of mankind, all while the shadow of their past endeavors continues to loom over their present.
Grand Master Ezekiel.
Grand Master Ezekiel stands as a figure of profound austerity and inflexibility, his communications largely limited to the sacred rites of the chapter or the grim task of interrogating those known as the Fallen. His presence commands a disquieting aura, for his penetrating gaze unsettles even the most virtuous among the chapter. Ezekiel possesses the unique gift of discerning the true intentions of others with but a single look into his functioning eye. The other, now a bionic replacement, was lost during the conflict at the Solarian Gate. This piercing insight allows him to peer into the depths of one's soul, identifying any hint of inadequacy. This ability is especially crucial when evaluating aspirants for the inner circle, where only individuals of unimpeachable integrity are considered. It is said that 1 out of every 3 candidates opts out of their promotion, aware of the rigorous mental scrutiny they would endure under Ezekiel's watch. Rumors circulate of those who could not withstand his psychic examinations or meet his stringent criteria, with some allegedly disappearing or confined in the bowels of the rock, though such tales remain unverified. Nonetheless, these stories serve as a stern reminder that only the truly pure-hearted dare aspire to ascend within the chapter's ranks. Ezekiel's origins trace back to Delphina III, where he was found in a pitch-dark dungeon, marked by scars and brands from his time among a heretic populace being purged by the Dark Angels. Codicier Maroth, who was part of the liberating force, detected Ezekiel's immense psychic potential from a great distance. Ezekiel ascended through the librarius hierarchy with unprecedented speed, surpassing Maroth within a decade. His formidable psychic prowess eventually led to his elevation to Grand Master of the Librarius, a position willingly ceded to him by his predecessor, Donathium. As the Grand Master of the Librarius, Ezekiel holds the title of Keeper of the Keys, granting him access to nearly all areas within the rock, with only a select few remaining beyond his reach. These restricted zones, hidden by ancient and arcane means. Among his sacred duties is the stewardship of the Book of Salvation, a tome that records the names of all the fallen captured by the Dark Angels, each inscribed in the traitor's own blood. While the book's profound significance is known to but a few within the chapter, all Dark Angels would lay down their lives to safeguard it, underscoring the depth of their commitment to their cause and the pivotal role Ezekiel plays in their eternal vigil.
Master Lazarus.
Commander Lazarus leads the 5th Company of the Dark Angels, also holding a place in the chapter's inner circle, as is customary for those of his standing. This dual responsibility is a constant challenge for the masters of the company. Their loyalty and integrity are put to the test, as they are tasked with keeping the chapter's ancient secrets and true objectives hidden from their own men and brothers in arms. It speaks volumes of Lazarus and his peers that they managed to fulfill their obligations while upholding their sacred vows of silence. Remarkably, the commander of the 5th has not only maintained this delicate balance, but has also been named the guardian of the unseen ritual, a prestigious position within the inner circle that has allowed him to gather extensive hidden knowledge about the old orders of Caliban. Lazarus mirrors his Primarch in valuing actions more than discourse. He is recognized for his strategic acumen within the chapter's leadership, but prefers to leave grand speeches to those more inclined towards rhetoric. Lazarus sees his role as leading by example, encouraging his company's warriors to strive for the heights he has reached. In this endeavor, he has been notably effective. Under his leadership, the Fifth Company of the Dark Angels has earned numerous honors, and Lazarus himself is celebrated across the chapter for his unflappable demeanor amidst the gravest threats or challenges. The only time his renowned self-control falters is in confrontations with users of dark sorcery. Lazarus has clashed with the nefarious Thousand Sons Traitor Legion multiple times, narrowly escaping death by their spells at the disaster at Relentless, and mourning the loss of many comrades to their schemes. These experiences have deeply wounded his spirit, driving him to engage sorcerers with a fury that borders on recklessness. Whether facing these corrupted spellcasters or more mundane adversaries, Commander Lazarus excels in combat. He expertly wields his sword, Enriches Edge, a testament to his chapter's legacy of martial prowess. Additionally, he is protected by the Spirit Shield helm, crafted by the chapter's artisans to include a fragment from one of Caliban's ancient stone guardians. The protective aura it generates shields its bearer from nearly all harm, having saved Lazarus's life time and again.
Dark Angels Rituals.
Within every level of the Dark Angels' hierarchical structure, there exists a complex web of ancient ceremonies and customs, ranging from the Feast of Malediction and the Rite of Sins renounced to the intensive 3-day mind chant of the Iron Penance and the solemn recitation of the Liturgy of the Thrice Avenged. The responsibility of leading these sacred rituals typically falls upon the chaplains of the Dark Angels, often with the support of the company masters. While some rituals are intimate gatherings of cloaked and hooded figures, others are grand affairs presented to entire companies, or, on rare occasions, the whole chapter. These ceremonies vary in nature. Some are educational, others involve the swearing of oaths, and a few remain enigmatic, leaving newer members of the chapter in wonder at the profound and unusual rites. Yet, all these rituals are marked by a stern and solemn atmosphere, reflecting the Dark Angels' grave disposition and their united resolve in pursuing the ultimate goal of vanquishing the adversaries of the Imperium. Every ceremony held by the Dark Angels carries significant weight, even if not all participants grasp their full meanings. The true revelation comes as a Dark Angel is initiated into the inner circle, where they are enlightened with some of the chapter's most closely guarded secrets. This moment of realization hits with the force of an unspoken thunderclap, as the myriad lessons, rituals, and obscure narratives suddenly merge into a singular, daunting truth. Through their unwavering commitment to these age-old traditions, the Masters of the Dark Angels seek to fortify their brethren in every aspect mentally, physically, and spiritually. In an era where the galaxy is fractured and the influence of the warp pervades, the significance of these rites and practices to the Dark Angels has never been more critical.
Hunt for the Fallen.
The Dark Angels have long held the conviction that their path to redemption lies in the relentless pursuit and capture of the fallen, each one a betrayer who must be made to confess. The return of the Lion to the chapter has introduced subtle shifts in this pursuit, yet the existence of the fallen continues to mar the collective honor of the Unforgiven chapters. These traitors not only bear the shame of past transgressions, but also pose a vulnerability that could be exploited by the adversaries of the Dark Angels. Initially, the loyalist Dark Angels believed that their treacherous kin perished in the warp storm that devastated Caliban. However, during their search for their lost Primarch, the Dark Angels librarians detected the psychic imprints of the fallen alive against all odds. This discovery was met with a characteristic stoicism by the Dark Angels' leaders, despite the inner turmoil it stirred. The possibility that the Fallen could reveal long-hidden secrets was a source of concern, as their very existence attested to the catastrophic events on Caliban. Nonetheless, the continued presence of the Fallen also offered a chance for atonement, should the Dark Angels manage to apprehend them and secure their repentance. This marked the beginning of a millennia-spanning hunt. Each Fallen found their own means of survival in the galaxy, cast out by the warp, some as lone wanderers, others in groups. Many aligned with chaos, becoming heretic Astartes, with a few even achieving demonhood. Others turned to piracy and raiding, leveraging their combat skills in a life of conflict. A select few ascended to power as despots, dominating planets or entire star systems. Scattered across space and time, the Fallen experienced the warping of reality differently, with centuries passing in moments, the chaos of the warp rendering linear time meaningless. For some, the realization of their actions and their situation drove them to insanity and violence, loudly proclaiming their treachery. Others, filled with regret or feeling deceived by Luther, led solitary lives as mercenaries or sought redemption within imperial society. The mission to track down the Fallen has persisted as the paramount duty of the Inner Circle, supported directly or indirectly by the broader Dark Angels chapter, their successor chapters, and innumerable indoctrinated agents within the Empire. Despite periods of silence lasting decades, the vigil for the Fallen never wanes among the Sons of the Lion. Historically, captured Fallen were brought to the Rock or Successor chapter's darkest chambers for interrogation by the interrogator chaplains, a process ending invariably in death, either through prolonged torment or swift execution for the repentant. However, since Lionel Johnson's return, slight yet puzzling modifications have been observed. The Fallen are still subjected to interrogation, but occasionally the Primarch himself enters, commanding a pause in the proceedings. His unmatched presence is unmistakable, even concealed beneath a cowl. At his behest, interrogators exit, leaving him alone with the captive. What transpires between them is a mystery guarded by the Inner Circle's strictures. Sometimes, the Lion exits alone, signaling the resumption of interrogation. At other times, an empty chamber greets the return of the interrogators. Only a select few, such as Supreme Grand Master Azrael and Ezekiel, Grand Master of Librarians, are privy to some secrets regarding these occurrences, yet even they are left with doubts about their understanding. The criteria by which the Lion selects those he removes remain unfathomable, including his choice to take away those most overtly corrupt and boastful of their allegiance to the dark powers. The purpose behind these actions is a riddle, yet the Lion has not otherwise disrupted the ongoing hunt for the Fallen, nor has he shown dissatisfaction with the methods or commitment of his kin. On occasion, L. Johnson has steered the Inner Circle's efforts, always leading to significant captures, reinforcing the belief that their mission is righteous and must proceed without hindrance.
Lion L. Johnson.
The Lion, Primarch of the Dark Angels and forebear of all the Unforgiven, was crafted by the Emperor himself. He led the First Legion through the tumultuous Great Crusade and the harrowing Horus Heresy, only to be betrayed by Luther, his most trusted comrade. In the era Indomitus, mysterious forces revived the Lion, allowing him to resume his command and continue his fight for loyalty. Lion L. Johnson embodies the virtues of nobility and chivalry, with a demeanor as grave as it is quiet, letting his actions manifest his principles, driven by the belief in the intrinsic value of loyalty. To an observer, the Lion's reserved and secretive nature might seem reflective of his gene sons, but it is they who have inherited these traits from him. Among his peers, the long-lost brotherhood of Primarchs, L. Johnson stood out as a master strategist and tactician, a crusader against the Emperor's foes, a defender of humanity, and an implacable enemy of the Dark God's minions. After Luther's betrayal and the ensuing catastrophe on Caliban, the Lion was secreted away by the enigmatic Watchers in the dark into a hidden chamber deep within the rock, unknown even to the Supreme Grand Masters of the Dark Angels. Only Luther knew of the Lion's fate, that he lay in a deep slumber, potentially healing over time. Despite Luther's madness, induced by his betrayal and sustained by the corrupting powers of chaos, he never divulged the truth of the Lion's survival, even under claims of repentance. The Lion's reawakening during the Noctis Aeterna and subsequent return to the galaxy remains shrouded in mystery, with none fully understanding the event's interconnectedness. It's unclear who or what prompted his revival, but L. Johnson returned, changed, bearing the marks of his long convalescence. Those who knew him before would note a more ethereal and unsettling aura about him, with shadows that seemed to react to his moods, eliciting an almost primal fear in those who meet his gaze, reminiscent of being prey in a dark, oppressive forest. Among the lion's most mystifying abilities is his forest walking, allowing him to navigate through an ethereal realm mirroring the ancient wilds of Caliban, enabling him to cover immense distances across the galaxy in mere days. This ability leaves behind transient, otherworldly signs and is fraught with unpredictability, often leading the lion to where he is most needed, regardless of his initial destination. The lion travels the galaxy, sometimes aboard Unforgiven void ships, other times through his arcane pathways, undertaking quests against chaos, completing inscrutable tasks, or leading his successor chapters in battle, all while often choosing to remain unseen, even to his gene son. With the Watchers in the Darkshade, he moves undetected, his motives and greater objectives known only to him. Unlike Robote Guilliman, the lion has not sought to initiate grand crusades, but instead serves as an ever-present, motivating force among the unforgiven, embodying the potential to emerge from the shadows and lead them to victory.
The Primarch roused.
When Lionel Johnson emerges from the shroud of secrecy and marches into the fray, he embodies the dual essence of terror and inspiration. As a divine warrior, a quintessential knight, he excels in commanding vast armies across global theaters of war, as much as in wielding his personal arsenal against formidable adversaries. In battle, L. Johnson brandishes fealty, a sword enveloped in a crackling power field, cutting through the air with each swing. His attacks, delivered with the force of a meteor and unmatched precision, transform defense into an art form. With fealty, he crafts a barrier of rapid parries and smart deflections, draining the momentum from any assailant's attack. On his opposite arm, the lion carries the shield of the Emperor, a fortress made of adamantine and ceramite capable of halting even the most potent artillery. More than a mere physical barrier, this shield houses a sophisticated conversion field generator, turning incoming kinetic energy into a devastating counter-assault of blinding light and force, repelling attackers with their own momentum. Slung at his side, the lion possesses the Arma Luminis, a formidable energy pistol that, in size and power, is fit only for the grip of a Primarch. This weapon boasts the might to puncture the armor of a battle tank, or dissolve a reinforced doorway into slag with its blazing discharge. Beyond the unparalleled arsenal, it is Lionel Johnson's unyielding spirit and peerless combat prowess that mark him as a fearsome opponent. He perceives the chaos of battle with unrivaled acuity, a predator among soldiers. He instantly identifies the vulnerabilities in his enemy's defenses, ever vigilant against deceit or strategic outflanking. With an innate understanding of both ally and adversary strengths, L. Johnson navigates the complexities of warfare, discerning the clearest route to triumph against overwhelming odds.
The innermost circle.
The lion holds a singular position within the ranks of the Dark Angels chapter, as well as among the wider circle known as the Unforgiven. He is the sole keeper of all the esoteric, obscured, and sometimes prohibited lore amassed by the Dark Angels. His rank surpasses even that of the Supreme Grand Master. Every portal and archive within the rock is accessible to him alone. No enigma can stay concealed from his gaze. L. Johnson has established 2 private havens within the immense battle fortress of the Dark Angels. The first is a majestic, solemn hall with towering ceilings and billowing flags. Stoic sentinels, draped in robes and hoods, stand vigil in this resonant area whenever the Primarch graces it with his presence, serving as silent witnesses as he entertains requests from imperial leaders and orchestrates vast strategies on a holomap table carved from a single piece of obsidian that dominates the room. In true fashion for the Primarch of the Unforgiven, only those of the highest echelon in the inner circle know of its existence. Even they are required to perform the mysterious rite of the veiled door to gain access, and typically, only upon L. Johnson's direct summons can they enter. This hidden sanctuary, nestled deep within the rock, consists of a network of stone halls where shadows dance and a fine mist skims the floor. The Watchers in the dark frequently traverse this area, attending to cryptic tasks or simply hovering, barely visible, in the dim light. A peculiar sense of vigilance permeates the lion's personal quarters, disconcerting even his Grand Masters. Oddly, The minimal decor is interspersed with thorny vines and wild undergrowth, threading through the stones and sprawling over walls and ceilings, giving the impression of a mystical woodland cave. It is here, past the portal of penumbral sorrow and the chamber of passageways areas historically off-limits to all but supreme grand masters, that the Lion conducts his most confidential meetings. Azrael, Ezekiel, Belial, and others convene with him here, nearly as equals, to deliberate on matters of the utmost secrecy and import, topics that could potentially reshape the future of the Dark Angels chapter. The Unforgiven and the Imperium itself are discussed. Even these seasoned veterans, privy to secrets that could doom lesser beings, often leave these sessions looking shaken and disturbed. At times, while awaiting their audience with the Primarch, members of the Inner Circle have overheard the Lion engaging in quiet dialogues with unseen guests. Although the whispers are beyond even their enhanced hearing, the mere sound of these murmurs instills a sense of discomfort. Upon their entry, no trace of these mysterious conversants remains. The reality is, despite frequent consultations with the leaders of the Inner Circle, Lionel Johnson guards certain secrets closely. Luther's escape is one such matter. The traitor's desolate cell, just a short distance from the Lion's own quarters, is a place where the Primarch often stands silently, as if listening for remnants of the one who spent centuries within its confines. L. Johnson's thoughts on Luther's breakout, whether he intends to pursue his erstwhile mentor for retribution or reconciliation, remain unshared, even with Supreme Grand Master Azrael. The Lion shows no outward worry over the potential revelations of Luther or the other fallen. Uniquely, among the Dark Angel's Inner Circle, he seems unbothered by the prospect of judgment from the broader Imperium. Indeed, Lionel Johnson barely conceals his disdain for the state of his father's empire in the millennia following the Great Crusade. He remains devoted to the Emperor and the survival of humanity. Yet, the glimpses he has caught of the M41 Imperium corrupt, overly bureaucratic, and steeped in superstition fill him with disgust. He has scant patience for the pompous adepts who exercise undue influence over the populace, and even less for the ecclesiarchy and their imperial creed. Whereas Robute Guilliman has been willing to manipulate the Imperium's socio-administrative and political frameworks for his own purposes, the Lion seems to largely disregard them. He reserves his time and respect for those actively working or fighting to maintain the Emperor's dominion. Many are the stories of the Knight of the Nihilus favoring the company of soldiers over that of opulent governors or ornate priests. Rare is the official so filled with hubris that they dare challenge a Primarch. As such, the Lion's appearances have often precipitated rapid and significant political upheavals, with inept or hereditary rulers supplanted by those committed to loyal deeds rather than flattering rhetoric.
The Ravenwing.
Dressed in their signature black armor, the Ravenwing are the vanguard of the Dark Angels chapter, moving with the swiftness and suddenness of lightning in a brewing storm. They prioritize rapid movement and agility, playing a crucial role in the Dark Angels' tactical deployments and their clandestine mission alongside the Unforgiven. Often accompanying Dark Angels' operations, the Ravenwing's expertise is leveraged in scouting missions and, when necessary, leading their own expeditions on tasks critical to the chapter's interests. In combat, they seize the initiative, darting into the fray with explosive force. Comprised of bike squads, grav speeders, ADEVs, and more, they surge forward in a wave of dark armor, seamlessly transitioning between assault patterns to encircle and dismantle enemy ranks. Their dynamic approach to warfare ensures they remain unencumbered, gradually wearing down superior enemy numbers. Among their key strategic tools are the teleport homers, essential for the precise deployment of Deathwing Terminators directly into the heart of battle, striking a decisive blow against foes already weakened by the Ravenwing's assault. These devices hint at the deeper purpose of the Ravenwing, within the chapter a purpose unknown to most of its members, except for the Grand Master and the Black Knights, the Pursuit of the Fallen. To fulfill such a critical mission, every Ravenwing warrior must exhibit not only supreme martial capability, but also unwavering loyalty to the chapter. The threat of the Fallen's deceit looms large, making the Ravenwing susceptible to exposure to their treachery. Thus, the integrity of each member's indoctrination is vigilantly guarded, ensuring their minds remain free from doubt and corruption.
Talon Masters.
Within the ranks of the Ravenwing, Talon Masters stand as the counterparts to lieutenants, rising from the esteemed Black Knights. Their selection is based on a deep-rooted dedication to the pursuit and their leadership skills. Independence in thought is crucial for them, as they often lead smaller units in critical flanking maneuvers or covert operations.
Black Knights.
Endurance within the Ravenwing eventually leads one to master the art of mobile combat at a superior level. Those who overcome the 7 rites of the Raven rigorous tests of both skill and allegiance to the chapter are welcomed into the ranks of the Black Knights and embraced into the inner circle. Following their involvement in the extensive and solemn ceremony that concludes with the vow of the Beast Slayer, they uncover the true purpose behind the Ravenwing's relentless chase. Whether operating solo or as the veteran heart of a larger Ravenwing formation, the Black Knights, astride their Make IV Raven pattern bikes, serve as the Grand Master's foremost force. While the Dark Angels are typically reticent to celebrate martial feats, the exceptional valor of the Black Knights compels their Ravenwing brethren to openly express their admiration for these elite warriors.
Dark Shroud.
The blueprint for the Landspeeder Vengeance, and consequently the Dark Shroud, was unearthed in Nerdy 6. Among the ancient artifacts wielded by the Unforgiven, the Dark Shroud stands out for its enigmatic nature. Those who have experienced its shadowy presence and the chill of its gloom carry the burden of that memory indefinitely. The Dark Shrouds wield their mysterious force through the grim statues mounted on each vehicle, statues that are anchored by a network of esoteric wiring and mystical machinery, drawing on the warp energies that imbued these ominous figures during Caliban's demise. Legend has it that these warp energies slipped through the Gorgon's Aegis, the powerful barrier that protected the Dark Angel's fortress monastery from obliteration even as the planet around it perished. The Dark Angels turned to these so-called Stone Guardians in a moment of dire need during the Vendetta campaign, discovering their capability to cast a veil of shadowy energy that shields nearby Ravenwing units and confuses enemy marksmen. Ever since, the Dark Shrouds have been deployed in crucial conflicts.
Combat Aircraft.
The 2nd and 3rd squads of the Ravenwing, notable for their size, supply pilots for the Dark Angels' fleet of swift advanced fighters. The Dark Talons and Nephilim jet fighters, exclusive to the Unforgiven chapters, stand out not only for their speed and ancient armaments, but also for the Dark Talon's most daunting aspect, which is surprisingly not a weapon. Hidden within its frame is a chamber, a dark, whisper-filled vault where a captured Fallen is secured for delivery to the Rock. This cell can activate a stasis field to prevent escape, offering a small mercy compared to the torment of being trapped in darkness, haunted by the voices of the damned before facing the inevitable judgment at the Rock. The Nephilim jet fighter, discovered during the quest to capture the alleged Fallen, Baelor the Imposter, incorporates the Lionheart engine into its design, enhancing older models while respecting the machine spirits by maintaining several original features. This has resulted in an exceptionally maneuverable jet, continuously refined by the Ravenwing to match and surpass the capabilities of nearly any other spacecraft in the cosmos.
The Deathwing.
Acknowledged as a premier combat unit within the Imperium, the Deathwing serves as the formidable arm of their chapter. No adversary is too formidable, no task too perilous for their intervention. The very presence of their bone-white armor can send opponents fleeing in terror. The entire First Company, known as the Deathwing, is outfitted with Terminator armor, surrounded by crackling power weapons and shielded by massive relic protectors. As integral members of the Inner Circle, they bear the critical responsibility of apprehending the Fallen. Admission into the Deathwing requires surpassing rigorous initiation rites that challenge the mind, body, and spirit. Upon completing these challenges, initiates are gradually introduced to the saga of Luther, fueling their emotions of disgrace, disdain, and wrath, thereby solidifying their resolve to seize the Fallen. This process forges warriors of unwavering loyalty, ready to execute any directive to fulfill the chapter's objectives. The Deathwing strikes with overwhelming force, capable of altering the tide of wars through precise teleport assaults or mounted on battle-ready vehicles like Land Raiders and Repulsors. Their hallmark is a strategic strike at the adversary's weakest flank. Beyond their primary mission, Deathwing squads undertake the most harrowing assignments, from boarding plague-ridden space hulks to executing deep strikes into enemy heartlands or vanquishing formidable enemies. Often accompanying Dark Angel strike teams, they not only bring their combat prowess, but also execute clandestine tasks directed from beyond the immediate command structure. Joining the Deathwing means embracing a deeper layer of the Dark Angel's history, yet it's only the beginning of the journey into the Inner Circle's secrets, revealed progressively to those deemed prepared. Newcomers to the Deathwing are groomed for the revelations yet to come, much like the broader initiation practices within the Dark Angels. Valuing martial excellence, monastic discipline, and altruism, above all, the Deathwing remain indifferent to external accolades, focusing solely on their duty to the chapter.
Deathwing Knights.
The Deathwing Knights represent the pinnacle of the Dark Angel's First Company's warriors, echoing the silent fortitude and concealed nobility of the Lion himself. Within the chapter's echelons, their status is almost unparalleled, a rank many aspire to achieve. However, prowess in combat alone does not secure a place among the Deathwing Knights. A warrior must exhibit total devotion to the chapter and an unwavering commitment to the clandestine pursuit of the fallen. Candidates are tested within the Chamber of Judgments through tailored trials that push their capabilities, determination, and fidelity beyond any previously known limits. Success bestows the esteemed title of Knight. Their arrival on the battlefield signals a decisive moment, often turning the tide against the most formidable adversaries through sudden and devastating teleported assaults.
Strike Masters.
Strike Masters, ranking above even the Deathwing Knights, embody the Deathwing's strategic leaders and are tasked with overseeing the most sensitive operations. Their responsibilities include the management of the Rock's deepest cells, securing the chapter's most perilous prisoners and relics. Unlike other chapters that might delegate such duties to lesser ranks, the Dark Angels entrust only their most heroic figures with this critical role. Strike Masters meticulously record each prisoner's name in the volumites illicitatum using the Black Quill, a ritual that underscores the gravity of their charge. Each prisoner's common trait is a direct or indirect connection to the fallen, doomed never to be free. The Rock's prisons are safeguarded by a myriad of arcane locks, requiring unique incantations, temporal windows, or intricate rune sequences, the knowledge of which is closely guarded within the Deathwing.
Armored Might.
The Dark Angels honor their most venerable Land Raiders, Repulsors, and select battle tanks by inducting them into the Deathwing. These battle-hardened vehicles are painted in the distinctive bone white of the Deathwing, marked permanently for exclusive use by the First Company. Tech Marines perform sacred rites to bond with the venerable machine spirits of these armored behemoths. Additionally, venerable dreadnoughts clad in Deathwing white carry warriors of distinction from the First Company, their spirits continuing the secret pursuit across ages. It's not uncommon for members of the Inner Circle to seek the counsel of these ancient warriors, housed within the armory's depths, for their wisdom and experience are invaluable to the chapter's enduring quest.
Azrael, Supreme Grand Master of the Dark Angels.
Azrael holds the distinguished position as the current and arguably most eminent Supreme Grand Master of the Dark Angels. Within a chapter known for its reticence and modesty, the profound respect and esteem Azrael commands is telling. His valor and the accomplishments of his chapter shine brightly, even amid their secretive and monastic demeanor celebrated throughout the wider Imperium. The full extent of Azrael's story is safeguarded within the secret archives of the chapter, yet snippets of his swift ascension have surfaced. His early life is shrouded in mystery, with speculation suggesting his origins lie among the fierce, headhunting tribes of Chimeria, a planet frequently visited by the Dark Angels for recruitment. Casting aside his previous life for the chapter, as is the custom for all Dark Angels, Azrael rose rapidly through the ranks. Initially a member of the Deathwing, he ascended to Master of the Third Company and subsequently to Grand Master of the Deathwing. In this capacity, Azrael led the decisive attack against the demon-possessed ruler of Cephlaim, exacting retribution for the Imperium before the planet was condemned to oblivion by exterminatus. Following the demise of Supreme Grand Master Nibirius amidst the Ramiel betrayal, Azrael was selected to lead. His leadership has been characterized by dynamism and an ability to inspire those he leads, instilling in them a vision of victory and a terror in the hearts of adversaries. Azrael's command style mirrors that of Lionel Johnson, showcasing exceptional strategic and tactical acumen. His proficiency in adapting to the flux of battle and coordinating forces efficiently stands out, even among Space Marines. A notable demonstration of his leadership was on Amity, where he successfully defended against a surge of demonic forces with astute positioning, the loyalty he inspired in his Dark Angels, and his own formidable combat prowess. The aftermath saw the Sword of Secrets, his legendary weapon, still smoldering from the clash. Supreme Grand Master Azrael is armed with the Dark Angel's most sacred relics. He wields the Sword of Secrets, the most powerful of the Heavenfall blades, forged from a shard of obsidian from Al-Baradad. This blade has remained immaculate through countless battles. Azrael also bears the Lion's Wrath, a combi weapon of exceptional power and versatility, created by the famed Technomagos Prester, the Unchallenged. Yet, the Lion Helm is perhaps his most iconic and powerful piece of war gear, providing unparalleled protection with its force field. A poignant moment in Azrael's tenure was his offer to return the Lion Helm to Primarch L. Johnson, who refused, affirming Azrael's worthiness to carry it, highlighting a profound trust and respect within the chapter's highest echelons.
Asmodai, Master of Repentance.
The figure of an interrogator chaplain within the Dark Angels is one that commands a mix of reverence and unease, even among their fellow warriors. Their induction into the inner circle, following an elaborate ritual in the Hall of Secrets, marks them as bearers of the chapter's deepest secrets and history, having endured the rigorous test of faith and sworn the solemn vow of the Deathwing. Among these formidable figures, Asmodai stands out as a figure of particular dread. Renowned as the preeminent interrogator chaplain and titled the Master of Repentance, Asmodai's aptitude for interrogation and torture was unveiled during the tumult of the Macharian heresy. His relentless pursuit of a rebellion's leaders, coupled with his escape from a lethal trap set by the rebellion's mastermind, earned him a place in the inner circle. Opting for the path of the interrogator chaplain, Asmodai has since built a fearsome reputation among the Unforgiven and the Fallen, who dread his unyielding interrogations. Asmodai's dedication to the chapter's cause is absolute, driving him to take actions that often skirt the edges of defensibility. His decision to order the obliteration of Hostengard, rationalizing the collateral loss of 50,000 lives as a necessary sacrifice to prevent a traitor's escape, marked a controversial moment in his service. Despite Supreme Grand Master Azrael's efforts to mitigate the fallout from Asmodai's more extreme actions, this incident prompted Azrael to revoke Asmodai's command, relegating him to a role within the 10th Company. Yet, this demotion did little to temper his methods, as evidenced by his ruthless evaluation of recruits from Nartsium and his imposition of a year-long vow of silence on the 7th Company for a minor transgression. Asmodai's uncompromising nature has made him adversaries within the Inquisition and posed risks of conflict with other Space Marine chapters. Nevertheless, his unwavering commitment to the Dark Angel's objectives is undisputed, embodying a belief that the ends always justify the means. In battle, Asmodai's fervor is unmatched, inspiring his brethren to extraordinary feats of valor. His leadership in assaults against formidable adversaries showcases his martial prowess and his ability to embolden the Dark Angels under the most dire circumstances. Armed with the ancient Crozius Arcanum known as Censure, the Power Sword Catechist, and the dreaded Blades of Reason, Asmodai is a terror to his enemies. The Blades of Reason, in particular, are an instrument of exquisite torment, capable of eliciting confessions or death wishes from those subjected to its touch, feared by the fallen as a fate worse than death itself. These tools, especially the Blades of Reason, underscore Asmodee's role, not just as a warrior, but as a master interrogator capable of unveiling the most guarded secrets of the chapter's foes.
Belial, Grand Master of the Deathwing.
Belial's rise to the esteemed title of Grand Master of the Deathwing is a testament to his unparalleled loyalty and valor as one of the Dark Angel's most distinguished champions. His journey from a young aspirant to a paragon of the chapter encapsulates a destiny shaped by honor and formidable prowess. Originating from the semi-feudal planet Burgundia, within a knightly society known as the Society of the Ebon Star, Belial was steeped in a culture of honor and duty from his earliest days. His first encounter with the Dark Angels came when he boldly challenged a visiting chaplain to single combat. Despite the predictable outcome against the augmented warrior, Belial's valor caught the chaplain's attention, securing his recruitment to the chapter. Belial's transition to the Rock was marked by an unwavering determination and bravery, traits that propelled him rapidly through the ranks. His promotion to Master of the Third Company was a direct consequence of his valor in single combat against Chaos, Lord Furion of the Skull Sides, whose rampage across 17 star systems came to a halt on Durga Principe. In the thick of battle, with Master Natael fallen, Belial demonstrated exceptional leadership, ultimately confronting and defeating Furion. His heroism was recognized by Azrael, who appointed him as Master of the Third Company and awarded him the Sword of Silence, a weapon shared in lineage with the Sword of Secrets and bestowed upon the chapter's finest warrior. Belial's leadership was further exemplified at the Battle of Pesina IV, where he faced the overwhelming forces of Ghazghkull Thraka. Despite sustaining injuries, he persevered, holding the line until reinforcements could secure the planet. His actions during this siege elevated his status within the chapter, leading to his promotion to Grand Master of the Deathwing upon the death of his predecessor, Gabriel. Despite a legacy of victories, Belial remains a figure more reflective on his defeats and what he perceives as shortcomings, a mindset deeply ingrained by both his upbringing and the austere traditions of the Dark Angels. He leads with a strict but fair hand, imposing penances on his warriors as means of self-improvement. His approach has not only solidified his leadership, but also led to significant triumphs, such as the purging of Akloth's seabed fortress, the annihilation of Lykar's orbital cities, and the cleansing of the deserts of Azpor. In combat, Belial eschews flamboyance for efficiency, his fighting style characterized by lethal precision and formidable strength. His tactical acumen is as sharp as his swordplay, enabling him to secure victories across the most daunting of war zones. Belial embodies the Deathwing's indomitable spirit, guiding his warriors with a blend of honor, discipline, and tactical brilliance.
Samael, Grand Master, the Ravenwing.
As the 348th bearer of the title, Grand Master Samael oversees the Ravenwing, the second company of the Dark Angels, marking an impressive tenure of over a century. This duration is notably extensive, given the historical frequency of leadership changes within the Ravenwing. His journey with the Dark Angels began unprecedentedly early, as he was the youngest member to be inducted into the Ravenwing by then Grand Master Gideon from the 8th E Company. Samael's early career was distinguished by significant victories over orcs, Torellians, and traitors, leading to his induction into the Inner Circle and the Black Knights. His elevation came after a campaign against Eldari pirates on Kafon Batis, where he uncovered Cypher's involvement in inciting rebellion, a revelation that secured his place in the Inner Circle. His ascension to Grand Master occurred amidst the turmoil of the Kapua Uprising, where the Ravenwing clashed with formidable foes, including the Black Legion and Wordbearers. It was during a critical battle against the Chaos Reaver Titan traitorous Ire that Samael was named Gideon's successor, receiving the Raven Sword, a part of the esteemed Heavenfall Blades, as a symbol of his new office. Samael is renowned for his bold and sometimes near reckless. His tactical acumen in deploying feints, distractions, and traps underscores his relentless pursuit of victory. Notably adept at utilizing teleport homers to precision deploy Deathwing Terminators, Samael's strategic foresight is unmatched, always placing duty above personal glory. His victories are numerous and varied, from eradicating the Shroud from the Kolivar system to liberating Lintus Arbedia from enslaver domination and overthrowing the Onyx Tyrant of Santa Luzia, a notorious member of the Fallen. The era Indomitus has posed unprecedented challenges for Samael, with the Fallen exploiting the chaos of the Great Rift to advance their dark objectives. The destruction of the Ravenwing flagship, the implacable justice, and the subsequent reconditioning of Battle Brothers to maintain secrecy have fueled Samael's determination to combat the Dark Angel's enemies with renewed vigor.
Successor chapters.
The Dark Angels and their successor chapters share a profound connection rooted in a collective mission and a sense of inherited guilt. Despite the fragmentation of their original legion, these chapters maintain close, albeit secretive, relations, exchanging intelligence and upholding age-old customs. This unity is reflected in their organizational structure, with many successors emulating the Dark Angel's unique composition, including variations of the Deathwing and Ravenwing, each adapted to the individual chapter's identity and lore. Angels of Redemption are singular in their focus on hunting the fallen, a zeal so intense it sometimes overrides other obligations. The tumult of the Great Rift has, for the time being, shielded their relentless quest from broader scrutiny. Angels of Absolution diverge slightly in perspective, believing themselves absolved of ancestral sin by the loyalty of their forebears. This absolution does not dampen their resolve against the traitors, offering a unique blend of determination and self-assurance. Angels of Vengeance embody a relentless and somber pursuit of their foes, demonstrating a willingness to endure significant losses. Their stern resolve underscores a particularly intense disdain for the servants of chaos. Blades of Vengeance, as the first Primarch successors of Lion L. Johnson's lineage, have eagerly joined the Indomitus Crusade. They view this as an opportunity to expose and confront the fallen amidst the chaos of the galaxy. Consecrators are shrouded in mystery, famed for their sudden appearances in battle, and their guardianship of revered relics from the First Legion's arsenal, serving as custodians of the Dark Angel's storied past. Disciples of Caliban strike with rapidity and purpose, their creation and specific mission cloaked in secrecy, driven by rumors of their formation for the singular goal of capturing Cipher. Angels of Defiance exemplify the Primarch's enduring spirit, emerging as symbols of hope during the Imperium's direst epoch, their valor illuminated in the darkness of the Indomitus Crusade. Guardians of the Covenant are noted for their monastic warrior ethos, their origins and exact founding obscured, dedicating themselves to the meticulous study and embodiment of sacred text. Bringers of Judgment approach rebellion with a harsh absolutism, a perspective that has brought them into conflict with the Inquisition, reflecting a ruthless interpretation of justice. Cowled Wardens operate from the seclusion of the Suracoid Belt. Their interactions with the Lion Post return hinting at profound but undisclosed revelations and victories against formidable Xenos adversaries. Knights of Abhorrence have honed their martial prowess against the Xenos of the Ghoul Stars, their long isolation informing a specialization in combating alien threats while vigilantly pursuing the fallen. Penitent Blades are masters of aerial combat, their unique homeworld fostering unparalleled skills in the skies, with their organization reflecting this aerial dominance. Prime Absolvers, under Chapter Master Dagiel Harn, embrace a broader interpretation of their crusade against treachery, focusing on the Emperor's foes with equal fervor, not singularly fixated on the fallen. The Unnamed bear their ancestral guilt with profound solemnity, eschewing both name and homeworld in a relentless quest to purge the stain of the fallen, embodying a stark testament to their unyielding dedication. Together, these chapters form a complex tapestry of loyalty, penance, and undying commitment to the legacy of the Dark Angels, each interpreting and fulfilling their shared legacy in their unique way.
If you enjoyed watching this video and found it helpful or entertaining, please give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you don't want to miss out on our upcoming content, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.